TalkShoe. Recorded live.
Well, we're back again. This is the Politics and Prepper podcast here at TalkShoe.com. Saturday night, 10 p.m. Central Time. And got a couple topics. I think we're going to first introduce the new website. I think if y'all have been listening to the show, y'all may have heard us talking about wanting to put one together, and we finally did. And then we, there was a storm up north, and there was some power outages for quite a bit. So I think I'm going to touch on that. I don't know how far into that it will go. And then I think the big conversation tonight will be gun confiscation. So, of course, I'm here, Mike's here, Al's here, and I'm going to start off with by letting Mike introduce the new website.
Yeah, so we just launched the new website. It's at livefreenews.com. So we welcome any of the listeners to go over and check it out. We're going to have show notes on there. We can for each podcast, and we'll have any kind of links we might mention on the podcast, and then lots of other great links to relevant information and other articles that we post throughout the week. So go over and check it out. It's at livefreenews.com.
And we've still got some things to figure out how we're going to organize it. We'll probably have categories for different topics. So if you're interested in prepper things, the prepper topics in there. And it may be news. It may be actually talking about the topics themselves, articles and such, and videos maybe, with links back to websites that have some of the information if we find something we want to put in there and send y'all to get some extra information. Some health stuff will probably be on there, prepper health or just general health stuff. And then general news that we think is important. We don't have time to cover every little thing that comes out in the news. So we'll probably just be covering the ones that we think are important or interest us. There was a big shooting this week, and I really don't want to talk too much about it right now. They've been publicizing it, political strategies put in there, and I just don't think it's time to start in on that. Just let people deal with their grief and the problems that they're going to have with it, and pretty much just leave that alone for now, and we may come back to it and talk about it later. I can guarantee you how the left's going to handle it, and everybody that listens to this show probably already knows what they're going to do with it, so we'll just let that go and let other people deal with that stuff for now. But I think what I would like to talk about is, which was in the news just recently, and this is going to be a prepper topic because I haven't really sat down and been able to put anything together during the week, so I thought I'd touch on this is, it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It doesn't have to be the government. It just like, they had, as simple as having power out for 2 weeks in an area, you're not just going to be able to run up to the grocery store and buy food for a few days. If the grocery stores, some grocery stores have backup, but after 2 weeks, I don't know if that, I wasn't there, but I don't think that's going to be the easiest thing to do for big grocery stores to keep stocked up and keep things fresh in an environment like that. So I would suggest that you not just think about the big things that might happen and think, that's not going to happen to me. It could be as simple as like a bad storm comes through. It doesn't have to be a hurricane. But if you have some food and some supplies, water, which is essential, that's the main thing, and then some food, you won't have to fight the crowds to try to get the food as often. I think you probably should still try to get to wherever extra food is because you don't know how long you're going to need your food. I'm sure people thought I'll just be ready for 3 days or something, and that'll be fine. Anything bad happens, they'll have it organized. But from what I saw, there was lots of places that just, the organization and food distribution just wasn't the best. So if you have some of your own, I think that is just a typical part of being prepared, even if you don't want to be prepared with a bunch of guns, a bunch of ammo, a year's worth of food, which, a year's worth of food is cool. If you think you're planning for something that may last that long, like a total breakdown. That gets you back into a season where maybe you can get some food growing or something, or maybe the distribution network is back up again. But I don't really promote too much of that because there's just so much involved. And I may get further into that later. And there's some stuff on the website, my website, not the new one, about that. But we'll be putting some of that information up there too. But it's just a reminder that, there's a lot of people out there, well, that's so ridiculous. That's a waste of time. Those people are crazy. Well, I bet there's a whole bunch of people up there that were going on without power that wish they would have been stocked up, well, at least a few days. And then the one that just had 3 days were going, God, I should have had enough for a month. But it's just a reminder. There are things that come up that the government can't fix right away, which you shouldn't be dependent on the government anyway, because you never know how they're going to handle it. And in some situations they may not be able to handle it. Katrina, look how long it took for them to get things going over there. And a lot of people suffered, a lot of people died because the government couldn't help them. And they weren't ready for a situation like that, even knowing they were in a place that something like that could happen. And if they would have been more prepared, if something bad happens, and not only do you have to deal with, is my family okay? And God help us if it got worse where you were having to deal with grief of losing somebody in your family in a situation like that. The last thing you need is to have to worry about food and water and being prepared for such a situation, all the different aspects of do you have enough medicine to carry you through a situation like that? If you need some kind of medicines, a first aid kit. If you have a first aid kit, and in the situation, whatever it might be, something happens and you need minor emergency help, then you can take care of it yourself because there may not be anybody there to help you. And a minor thing can end up being a dangerous, a life-threatening situation if you don't have the proper stuff to disinfect it and such. You can sew up minor wounds, disinfect it, and there are just so many different aspects of just having your basic survival prepper gear ready in case something happens. You don't want to have to deal with everything that those kind of situations throw at you. If you don't have to worry about food and survival gear, you just got to, if you have all that, you just got to deal with the situation in hand as without having all these different things stacked on top of each other, because it's going to be stressful enough as it is. So just peace of mind, I have found, even though I haven't had to use my stuff, I just the peace of mind knowing I've got it sitting there, knowing that whatever happens, hopefully I have it covered to where I just got to deal with the situation itself and not all the different aspects. So, that's really as far as I wanted to go there. I'm not going to sit on this Saturday night show and go through all the different things you might need. There's too many things to cover there. That's what my best bug out bag content site's about. And you'll be able to go over and find links to that site on the new site. You'll also find articles as we go on that will be there too. So it'll be covered on both websites. My personal site will just have more information, but you'll have the basics over there. So if Al or Mike, if you got anything to add there, go ahead and add something to that. If not, we'll move on.
Well, one of the biggest problems you can encounter, like down in Katrina, they politicized that. I came out there with trucks of food that they wouldn't even let go in there because they were trying to make it out worse than it was. And the governor of Louisiana, who was a Democrat, wouldn't let. Bush was trying to. If you go back and look at the history of that, she was blocking aid from the government, trying to make it out to look worse than it was, or trying to make it worse than it was for political gain.
And then trying to blame Bush later for not helping out.
Yeah, the Democratic Party was behind it. But yeah. Bush actually landed there, Air Force One, and he had the mayor and the governor on his plane, and and he was asking if if they weren't telling them or asking if they could send the government in, or FEMA if you want to call it that, which I don't support FEMA in any way, and they couldn't really handle it anyway. But she told him she'd have to sleep on it, and that's when he sent the National Guard in there, or sent the Army in there, I guess you could say. But he did send a general that was from Louisiana, so because he was basically violating the Constitution when he did it. But
but he knew what was going on. He knew why they were doing it.
Yeah, and they tried the same thing again when they had the tornado up in Kansas a few years later, and they caught them that time. It leaked out where the Democratic Party called the governor there and said that let's delay this for a few days, for political gain is what they were trying to do, trying to make Bush look bad.
Yeah. Well, in that situation there was stuff as petty as like ICE. In a situation like that they wanted ICE, but there was a story here, and I don't know if it made the national news, but the local handled it quite well, I think. Some of them did. The local news, not the big networks. Just on the other side of Seguin, not too far, there's an old military base, and they had big stockpiles, trucks coming in with ice, big ice trucks, with bags of ice that were supposed to be distributed over there. And they didn't do it.
No, they had trucks blocked.
Yeah.
And they sat there for, like almost 2 weeks with their engines running, and the reefer trailers running, and they had truckloads of ice, and they wouldn't let them go in. And also, they blocked National Guard units from other states. They would turn them around at the border and send them back after, So the whole thing, it was a chaotic mess. And we were talking about last week, I think we were talking about it some, where there was the National Guard guy was on the Alex Jones show talking about it, how that he witnessed numerous rapes from the New Orleans police and different police departments down there. They were looting.
Yeah, and that was part of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm going to jump in here. You sent me, or we talked about that, and it's not an old story. It's the gun confiscation stuff. We knew about it when they were happening, shortly afterwards, and there was a lot of stuff about it later. And there's a lot of documents on how they're going to do it, that they're going to do it, and we put up over there on the news site a video, a couple of stories about that type of deal, and the TSA story about whistleblowers and things like that. But I watched the video that Alex Jones had up, and I posted it over at Facebook, and one of the guys that are in the group over there, the shooting group that I frequent with, I posted up, and then there was a couple comments, and then he came in and said it was all BS. Well, at first I thought he was really serious, and he was serious that he didn't believe, and I think basically he didn't believe in everything that we had said, that was said on the video. But as we talked, as we had our chats there, we had a pretty good debate about it. But he came around and understood what I was doing, and he pretty much agreed with everything. And I think I actually agree with him on one point. Everything on that video has been proven. There's documents. There's plenty of proof out there that's there. The only thing I could say that maybe wasn't proven is the guy that called in. We don't know who he was. He may have been making up the whole thing that he was there. But basically the story that he was telling has been backed up by a lot of articles and many other people. The one thing I had forgotten about, and just a minute, my granddaughter. Hey, out. When don't y'all take over for a second? Al, please.
Hey, no, I got it.
Yeah, go ahead.
In that video, they showed that. I don't know if it was the chief of police or who it was or the mayor. And he was saying they were going to take the guns. They were going to go collect all the guns. No one's going to allow to have guns. So I don't think it was really any secret that they were going to take the guns. Was it, Al?
No, there wasn't. Plus, you got all those news cameras where they were actually showing them in the where they actually
Oh yeah.
Lady.
No. The one lady got punched in the face.
Right.
One old lady.
Right.
Decked like 5 guys sticking one lady.
Yeah, and the sad
That's
part
pretty crazy.
And the sad part is there were some police that were prosecuted, but there weren't any prosecution for the gun confiscation or any of that stuff. And
most people never got their guns back, right?
Huh?
Most likely they never got their guns back.
A lot of them didn't, and but the only people that really got prosecuted, and there were some of the police got prosecuted for murder and stuff. Where like there was one situation where they had shot people on the bridge that were trying to leave, basically walking away. You know, they were trying to walk, get out of the area, and they got shot. And one cop that was he was sentenced like 70 or 65 or 70 years. But he had shot a man and then tried to plant a gun on him, and other cops basically after everything was over with, they basically they told on him, but they were trying to get deals for immunity for becoming state's witness. But as far as the gun confiscation, there was never really an investigation, or the mayor should have been prosecuted. Chief of, everybody involved in it. There should,
there's no legal basis for it.
There was no legal basis for it at all. Now in Texas, our governors shortly after that they passed a bill in Texas that they, that says they can't confiscate. Only time they can confiscate weapons is during a time of war. But that's not. That's the time you need your weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then
they're going to be looking for help.
Yeah, when you think instead of.
Well, the sad part is I don't really think any. I don't trust any law they pass anyway along that lines because the Second Amendment is in place.
Well, the Obama administration has already said told Congress we don't really give a damn about y'all anymore. If we want to do a war, we don't have to talk to you. It's the UN. So what's going to stop them from anything else that has to do with the Constitution? We already know what they think about the Constitution.
Right.
It's an imperfect document, he said. It's not. It was. And they said what the Constitution. He said, well, yeah, the original Constitution. I'm like, what do you mean the original Constitution? It's still the Constitution.
Yeah, he's quote unquote a constitutional scholar.
Yeah, right. Well, he knows exactly what he wants to change. I think that's where he's.
Yeah. So if anybody thinks that he doesn't really understand, just remember he's a constitutional scholar and he's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing. When he says something, does something, I bet 99% of the time he knows exactly what he said and he meant to say it. And whatever he's done, he meant to do it. Now, maybe some things backfire on him sometimes because people are starting to catch on, but he knows what he's doing, and he does it on purpose.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I know that I still say he's following orders.
Well, that doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm sure he is following orders, but he understands what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah. My boss could tell me to go out and do something, and I understand what he wants, so I'm doing it. I know what I'm doing, and I go do it. This guy knows what he's doing too. It's not mistakes. It's not slip-ups. And maybe he makes a little slip-up every once in a while on, how many states there are, or what a corpsman is and what a corpse is, and those kind of things. But
57 states.
Yeah. We know he couldn't have majored in math.
No.
No, he does. Otherwise, he wouldn't spend as much money as he spends. Certainly hasn't majored in finance.
No, well, even if he did, he's doing it on purpose. So it wouldn't matter. He knows he's spending a bunch of money, and he's doing it for a reason to to help collapse things, and you collapse things or make things. The worse you make things for people, the more they look for government, which is exactly the opposite way it should be. The worse things get, the less you should be looking for government, and the more you should be taking care of your own problems and being ready for those problems. But we've just gotten to where things are so easy. My generation hasn't had to deal with anything like World War II, World War I, any of those bad times that people went through. I don't think very many people even understand how bad or how much people suffered, for lack of a better word, compared to what we do now.
Yeah.
We got it made compared to what they did not that many years ago, or fathers or grandfathers.
I think about what we had to do when we fought against the British in the Revolutionary War. What those guys went through.
Oh God, those poor guys! They had it miserable.
Yeah,
freezing to death, starving to death. Yeah, the dog agrees.
Yeah.
Well, back to the gun confiscation stuff. If this is something, Al, you and I touched on the other day, and we were discussing. I just got a new gun. How I do it, I buy a gun, fix it up, and sell it. I don't have any guns except for the one right now. I'm going to fix it up, and I'm going to do videos and sell it. But, there's some documentation that we need to go back through and I think do some articles on that, put it up on the website so we can send them there to look at the documents showing how long this kind of thing, gun confiscation, has been planned, that they are training the military to come and confiscate our guns. And there's plenty of information out there. Anybody that doubts it, won't take you very long to go find the stuff. But I think we should put some of that stuff on the website just so we can send them directly to it and say, there it is.
Sure.
But are you taking any show notes, Mike?
Yeah, sorry, guys. I had to settle my dogs down.
Okay. And
my alarm going off.
Might have been the government coming for your guns.
Yeah, right. I thought someone heard me podcasting and would come to get me.
And one of the other guys that's on this show every once in a while, a friend of mine, Jim, we've talked about, if they want to come confiscate your guns, they're going to be able to come do it if you keep your guns at home. And you need to keep a few guns at home, but I wouldn't keep them all. And that's why I disagree with some of the people out there that say, you don't need more than a couple guns. Well, maybe not if you can get away from wherever you're at before they confiscate them. But, you're not going to, how many people are going to be prepared all the time for somebody kicking down your door in the middle of the night, heavily armed, with plenty of manpower, overwhelming you, and just searching your house for your guns?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up when you were talking earlier about preparing. And it seemed like when I was watching some videos about this topic, that kept coming up that I think there's a huge importance to having some kind of stash that's hidden.
Yeah, it's not just your guns. It's food and supplies.
Yeah, it's food, but they're coming for your guns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very well documented. They're going to keep doing that. There's
also some information out there that they're going to come for your food, too. They don't want people being stocked up for food because
they want you to go to the picnic camp.
Yeah. They want you to not be independent because you're dangerous then to them in what they want to try to do. So back to the guns, there are ways to take your guns out, prepare them for hiding them. And now, depending on if they come into your home and you think you can hide your guns in your home from them, there are many things you can do to hide guns in your home. But if they really want to find them, there's plenty of equipment they have. They, just a metal detector and run across the walls. They have
dogs too.
Dogs that can smell the gunpowder and the grease and things that are used on guns. And they also have vision tools that can see through your walls.
Well, they also would have a list of what guns you're registered for.
They would also have a list of what guns you have. That's why I haven't bought all my guns through the stores. So they're all legally bought, but not through the stores.
You know, on that note, in Texas, I was talking to a guy where I bought my gun today, and he was talking about how we were talking about gun confiscation. And he said that those forms that we fill out here in Texas, they have to keep them on file for 20 years, and then they dispose of them.
Right.
He said they don't actually go to the government. He said the only time that if you're involved in a crime, the ATF will come and get that document on you.
Yeah, that's one of the topics I was going to get to. I was under the false impression, and I learned this through one of Jim's friends who works at a gun shop, exactly what you're saying. I was under the impression that they did the paperwork, made the phone call. Oh, by the way, this time it didn't take 3 weeks to get my gun. Okay, it took 5 minutes. So
what's changed?
Whatever, I had never bought a gun since they changed the way they do it. I hadn't bought a gun in a shop for probably 20 years. So I had never come up on the paperwork or on the okay. I'd never been looked at before and checked out as far as the way they do it now.
The background check.
Right. So I assumed that since it was the first time I had come through, that it took them a while, especially since I was born in Germany, and I'd never been through the situation, so they had to go look at different things, and it took them a while. And I found out that, there was a big rush on guns about that time, too. I think 7 million were bought just in that 1 month, and that was the same month I was buying that one. So that might have been part of it. But whatever it was, I went. They called me that morning, said, that gun you wanted? Well, it's here. And I wasn't expecting it for a couple more months, so I had to go hit my money stash. And I told them I'd be down that day to get it. I went down there. We filled out the paperwork. I kind of browsed around for a few minutes. And before I know it, he's going, okay, it's yours. Now you got to pay for it. So we went over and paid for it, and I was out the door.
All right.
Which was good, So they got. Go ahead.
Yeah, mine was real quick. I got a CHL, so
Yeah, you wouldn't have to go through it. Is what I had to go through.
I still have to fill out the paperwork, but it's never taken me more than a few minutes. Hardly any time at all. So, and anyway, but yeah, there was one lady there today though. She had never bought a gun, and he was telling her that it could possibly. He said a lot of times when you've never bought a gun, it takes a couple of days, sometimes for the background check to go through it. So.
Yeah, well, when they did get done that day, I figured, a couple of days from now it'd be done. But then it was 3 weeks. Sheesh. I don't know what their problem was, but whatever it was, it worked out okay this time. But back to the gun confiscation. If they want to come find your gun, and they're not trying to do like the whole town or the whole block or whatever, or the whole city, whatever you live in, they're going to be able to find your guns and ammo that you hide around your house. Now, there are some things you can do that I think would work around your house to make it very difficult for them to find those. But I would suggest that you find a spot, not on your property and not on a piece of property that you have connections with, that they can look at paperwork and follow the paper trail. Because if they want it bad enough and they know you've got them and they want yours bad enough for whatever reason, they'll find them. But if they've got stuff out there that you can go buy and spend a bunch of money on, and you can bury it and you can put it, on a piece of property where they're not going to be likely to find it or be able to track you to in one way or the other. But my cheapest, easiest way that I could say is to go down to your hardware store and get the cheap sewer-type PVC. You can seal up the ends in different ways. You can make them where you have to cut them open if you want to. I prefer I take the end cap on one end and the first couple inches on it, I take the cap itself and go down a couple inches, and I put a big old thick bead of silicone. And then right before I put it on the PVC itself, where the end cap is going to slide over the top of, I put the glue, and I seal one end where you'd have to cut that one off. And the other end, I take PVC and I put a threaded coupler on there, and I put an end cap that threads. You can seal that different ways. I just simply use the tape, the thread tape.
How thick is that? I mean,
it's not very thick. It's not very thick. It's very thin-walled, very light, and very inexpensive.
No, I mean, but what's the diameter of it?
Oh, well, there's different sizes.
I mean,
It depends on the size guns, or if you want to put one gun or two guns, whatever.
Are you talking about like a rifle?
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can cut it in small pieces and put, pistols in them.
Right.
All right. So whatever length you need, you can go cut it down to that length for whatever purpose the bigger the piece of PVC diameter, the more guns it'll hold. I do mine in singles. All right.
And you might, if you're sealing it, you might put a couple of those, what do you call them?
Those little salt packs.
Vesicants.
Yeah, that as well as something that absorbs the oxygen too.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different things you could do. If you wrap the gun up properly, I wouldn't do this without wrapping the gun up, but you could put a bunch of rice in there to help soak up any moisture if you want to do it that way. There's some different things you can do for the oxygen. You can even fill them with some gas. There's some gases you can get. You can seal it up with the gas inside that gets rid of the oxygen. It just depends. I have found that we tested this over a 5-year period. We put exactly what I did.
Uh-huh.
All right, and we buried it in a place that we knew would get wet, and it would get wet deep enough to get to where we put this container. In 5 years, and we just put an old gun in there that didn't mean much. In fact, it turned out better than what I thought, because that gun turned out to be worth more than I thought when and I sold it for some pretty decent money compared to what I bought it for. Anyway.
You're glad it didn't go bad then.
Yeah. But it was fine. It looked perfect.
And how deep did you bury it?
I only buried it 2 feet.
Okay. I mean, well, let's see. You probably want to go, I would think you'd want to go below the freeze line.
Well, I'm down here where you don't have to worry about that. It never freezes that deep down here. Now, if you're further up, where you take that in consideration, the freeze line, that would be probably important.
What about that metal detectors? How far do the metal detectors go?
Well, there's other things you can do.
Well, I think you want something that would defeat that.
Yeah. Well, first thing is you defeat it by them not knowing that even to look in that area. All right.
Right.
That's the first thing. As far as I'm concerned, that's the first thing. Now, there's a lot of places are fenced with the metal posts. All right. Whether, like, we have a piece of property. Don't worry, ATF or whoever. There's no guns out here. We have a piece of property on the other side of the Gain, and wherever the fences meet at a corner, they have big metal pipes, and that's that's to support the weight from the whole fence.
Right.
All right. Now, you can take something like that, and you can just dig your hole deeper, and put your gun in there. All right. Alongside it or underneath it, depending on how long your tube is. If you're just putting like a 1 foot piece with a pistol or two in it, you could just go underneath the pole itself. You could also go beside it if you have a rifle, you could just stick it beside it. All right, and dig your holes deeper, because a rifle is several feet long, and you usually don't have to dig that too much deeper than that, and I wouldn't want it too close to the surface. So you might have to dig your holes a little bit deeper. But those metal posts, if they come up against it with the metal detector, they're going to catch your metal post too, and it's solid.
You could do it near a water well pipe too.
You could do that. You also have, a lot of them have metal, the thinner metal posts that for along the fence line. I haven't tested something like that, but it's still a lot of metal. So it would probably work fine there. You can also take one place we found has an old slab around a well, an old well that was no longer used anymore. And they had cemented in the well itself, but it still had metal pipe, and the concrete had rebar in it. So we dug up underneath it and then dug down along the metal pipe, and we stuck it in there and then filled it back in. And then a couple of weeks later, luckily it was just a couple of weeks later, we had a pretty good rain, so we came back and because once you dig the dirt out, it's going to settle over some time, and it's going to leave an impression. And we didn't want any impression there, even though we knew that there was no way they could trace us to that property. But we still went back and we took care of it and filled it in and planted a couple of plants around it so it looked all natural. Within a couple of days, you couldn't tell the difference. So that's just a few ways, but I'm sure there's a lot of other ways. With all that metal in the concrete and then the old piping, just the metal and concrete of an old building someplace. There's forms for, there's one not too far from another friend of mine where where the telephone, and I don't think this is the best idea because you see along the road you have little cement slabs where they have like a telephone box. Right. He put one underneath there. But to me, I'm thinking, somebody could come along there, have a wreck, and hit that thing and knock it up in the air, and maybe they're going to come back and dig that area out and redo the concrete, to fix everything.
Yep.
But I guess then it'd be okay if you dug down far enough underneath it. I guess it'd be okay. But to me, that's a little iffy. I don't want iffy in my plan. I want to know that I'm pretty sure that where I do it and what I do is not going to be disturbed for any reason, as best as I can figure. But he was comfortable with it. Do it?
Have you buried any rifles?
That's what and we tested. The one we did was a test on a rifle.
Do you bury it vertically or?
I bury it vertical. If it's the ones we've done so far, they were buried vertical. The test was horizontal, all right? Because that was just a test to see how well it's sealed and stays sealed. But for your permanent stash, I would, if you can find, like I was talking about, put it up along metal pipes, so it was vertical right alongside it.
Yeah,
right.
You could buy yourself a postal digger and dig a pretty deep hole.
Oh, you can get it already. Go rent a post hole digger.
Yeah,
one of those gas.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. But we used the post for two reasons. One is it was a marker of where it was, so we didn't have to keep notes on where they were at and how many feet away from what landmark. But if you want to do that, that's fine. I didn't want any paperwork sitting around anywhere that they could find that might lead them to where I put something.
Right.
And in that same tube, make sure you put some ammo in there.
Yeah, that's what I would.
Yeah. And make sure you put a cleaning kit in there for that particular gun.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much it. You might also, there's some fairly cheap reloading presses that you can get, and you can do the same thing with it. You can stash your gunpowder, your lead and stuff, and then whatever brass you use for those particular weapons, you come back and if you run out, then you have your reloading supplies too. Because there is some plans and things I've been hearing about. They're looking at making the price of primers go up so high that it's almost going to be impossible to afford very many of them.
Yeah.
I don't know how far along that is, and I don't know how true it is yet. The day I heard about it at the gun show, I felt more like I don't doubt that some people are doing things and saying things to make the price go up so they can make some more money. But then I also don't doubt that the government is actually doing anything. But when I came home that day, I had heard it from several people that were ammo dealers and gun dealers, and you don't know where it got started out, if it's true or not. And I could not find anything new on the internet about it. Any new plans or any new records or stories or anything. And nothing was new. Everything was several years old. So I don't know where it came from. And it may be BS, but I'm still looking. So maybe I'll find some more information on it.
Yeah, see, my philosophy on the ammo is just have you enough
And I was going to get to that, so we'll go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just have you enough to where, you know, if it turns into one of the, you know, where it hits the fan, and you know, you just want to have enough ammo to get you a weapon that they're using, and you know, all your ammo will come to you.
Yeah, and that's a possibility depending on the situation. But see, my philosophy is, if shit hits the fan and I live long enough to get away, I don't want to hang around and try to find people that have been killed and take their gun or their ammo and try to get enough from them to do anything. I want to get out, get away, don't deal with anything I don't have to, and go where I know I have my stashes, get my stashes out, and go to wherever it is I'm going to be. Which, if they want any of us bad enough, if it is, say, if it was the government, they're going to find us no matter where we're at, with all the drones and all the electronics and satellites and everything. They're pretty much going to find you. But if you can hang on long enough to where maybe things settle down and maybe things get better, you know, there's so many different options. Who knows what's going to happen? But my philosophy is, I want everything that I think I'm going to need. I want to know where it's at. I want to go to it, get it, and get the hell out. I don't want to hang around and try to find anything else that I could have already prepared for. But that's my philosophy.
Yeah, but where would you go?
I have a couple places that I think would be okay for a while.
Because, I mean, how far are you talking about you got to travel?
I have 3 places, and they all a little bit further apart. All right? One's only about 30 minutes away. But that's more like, okay, that's where you go, that's where you meet other people that you have arranged to do this with, because you don't want too big of a group, but you don't want to do it by yourself.
No.
You don't just want your wife and kids. You want more than that. You know, I don't want more than a dozen. But I know some people have planned on, you know, a lot more than that. A dozen people pretty much covers the people I know and trust, and would put my life in their hands as best I can tell. You know, so that's where I'm at. But the first place we would go would be more of a meeting place. It's also got some stashes around, and it's about 30 minutes away. The next one is, I'm assuming it would take about a day to get there, figuring that you won't get very far per day, because you're just not going to jump in the truck and drive down the highway. All right? So I'm assuming either we will be on little four-wheelers going through the back country or back roads, or we'd be walking. So if we were walking, it would probably be a 2-day walk to that second location. And the third one is about 3 days away. And none of them are really that far. And maybe I underestimate or overestimate, but I just did the best I could to estimate. You know, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, when you're talking 3 days, are you talking about still within the state?
Oh, yeah. 3 days, to me, it would probably be a 3-day to 4-day maximum walk.
Oh, walk, okay.
All right. And then it won't take that long to each location if you can drive to them.
Right.
All right. But I'm thinking you probably will not just be able to jump in your truck and get one of either of the second 2 locations. The first one you might, if you get out of whatever the situation is fast enough.
Right. Unless it's an EPM.
Yeah. And there are ways to do that, take care of that situation too, with some vehicles, not the new ones.
No. If it's an older vehicle,
you can still burn stuff out in an older vehicle, but if you have like a metal shop out back like I do,
yeah,
it'll probably be pretty well protected. But you could also, you know, the truck itself has got extra protection. I mean, you know, just the skin on it's going to be some protection.
Well, there's I forget what they call it. There is some kind of mesh.
Yeah, there's several different products out there you can use. You know. And the biggest thing on the old ones is to protect the alternator.
Right.
And the battery. You know, so it's really not hard for an older vehicle to do that. And a lot of the four-wheelers don't have electronics, computers on them. I don't know about the newest ones, but the ones that we have or have access to are pretty much, if they're in a metal building, I think they'll be safe, and that's where they are. And we even have some horses out at one of the places. But, this is another one that people talk about that I have heard that, well, a horse may not be the best thing because you have to take extra grain with them, supplies for the horse. I say BS, but I'm not an animal in love with my animals either. I mean, I love my new dog. It's a great dog, but it's not a person.
I'm pretty sure cowboys didn't go out west putting grain on the back of the horse.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm coming from. Plus, you don't look at the animal as your pet anymore. You look at it as a vehicle to survive. And they can eat grass, and they can eat vegetation along the way, and you're just trying to get where you are going for your...
Yeah, and then once you get there, you got something to eat. That's
right. If that's what you need to do, that's what you're going to do. I don't plan on taking any pets with me that I'm going to have to take any special stuff for it. A lot of people are getting to the point where they're taking like their dog and putting, the little doggy backpacks, bug-out bags on them.
Yeah.
And if they want to, that's fine. If that dog is taking its own food and taking care of it, that's fine. And some dogs may be even a benefit to have if they're trained properly. If you can tell that dog not to bark and it won't bark, then that's okay. But if that dog's going to bark, even if you tell it not to, I don't want that dog.
No.
All right? Even though it may not be a dead giveaway, it's a curiosity for somebody to go, well, there's a dog over there. Let's go see if somebody's with that dog.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of strays out there. So a dog barking doesn't mean anything, but I don't want anything making anybody curious.
Right.
There won't be a dog with me, or a cat, or a bird, or anything else. I want to keep it down to the basics. Make things as mobile and as quickly done as possible, and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if that's the type of situation you're planning for, a total breakdown, you really should probably have a year's supply of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you want to get into the next season of growing. Maybe it happens right before spring, and you don't have to worry about a whole year of getting through without something growing, or 6 months of something growing. But you probably ought to have a year's supply so you can get into a growing season, get some things growing, and into production. But you're not going to be able to take a year's supply of stuff for your family, probably in one pickup truck.
No, but you're talking, and when it comes to growing, trying to grow crops of some sort, you got to make sure you get the
right seeds and
the right seeds, because all the GMO seeds are sterile.
Yeah, you're going to want
or not those seeds aren't sterile, but anything you grow, those seeds are sterile.
Yeah, and you don't want that. You want something that you can come back and grow from season to season.
Right.
And from that crop, you want to take your crop, harvest it, take your seed stock away from it, put that away, and then the rest is your food.
Right.
And if that's sterile, then it's not going to do you much good. That's why there's such a big market now. And I probably ought to have some more stuff on that, and I think I will. But there are just so many topics and so much time. So I try to take it what I think is the most interesting or most important, and then work down.
What about any type of gas mask?
You can do that.
Well, the Illuminati. Now the Illuminati plans are to release gas.
Yeah, I know that. I just haven't gotten to them. I don't have them now.
I saw a YouTube video. I saw several of them actually, where people make their own gas masks using milk jugs.
I haven't seen that. That's a curiosity. I'll probably have to go check that out.
Yeah.
And I do like to cover stuff that doesn't cost anything. Very little.
These gas masks were like $3 a piece. You bought there's charcoal and I forget. He was also using one of them I saw they used like for the eyes. They were using like swimming goggles,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just seal your eyes in basically. But then he made gas mask out of the but you cut the milk jugs and you can probably visualize the way he cut them, with the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
neck down, and he used charcoal and but anyway, it was pretty cool looking, and they were functional, and they was like $3 a piece. And
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of filters out there that they use for like aquariums, and they have activated carbon in them.
yeah,
You could probably modify those to use too, because a lot of them have a screw-on end to them that goes directly to everyday PVC sizes you can find. So there's probably something there you could do.
right,
Some people are doing up rooms in their houses to where they can seal them off from gas, but you have to have a filter system for air, and you could probably do something there with that kind of stuff too. There's probably not very expensive to do something like that. I haven't gotten there though.
I wonder if those gas masks though will prevent you from being, like bio.
I would doubt it.
Yeah, I would doubt it too.
Chemical gas, yeah, but bio, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You would have to have a professional one, I think, for that. Now, I don't hold me that to anybody because I'm no expert on that. That's
right.
Just my immediate feelings about that. That might be something to look into as well.
Right. Yeah, because one of the things that they actually have some drones now that they're equipped for spraying. One of them I was reading about, they were equipped to spray like knockout gas, where they could just go over a city and knock everybody out.
Yeah, and they've got some now that are like continuous flying. They don't, once they set them out there, they don't have to bring them back because they'll pick up solar. I guess they're solar powered or something. I don't know.
No, they're powered by laser beam.
Okay, I saw a story on it, but I hadn't gotten to it.
Yeah, they just shine a laser beam on them, and they can recharge
them up that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering, because I thought to have a big enough solar panel on one of those to recharge it for flying, I thought might be big.
Hey, that's the other thing I'm putting together. You can buy rechargeable batteries with the little charger units,
right?
And those power adapters, are like 12 volts. In other words, those charger units are like 12 volts.
Right.
And now you can get little solar panels for pretty reasonable. It's real easy to set up one of those where you can plug that into the recharger.
Well, I did a little bit of research on what was out there on some of those smaller solar panels. Some of them are like fold up or roll up.
Yep.
And some of them actually just hang on your backpack.
Yeah.
I've looked into some of that. I haven't done any articles on it yet, but some of the technology for solar panels is getting better, and when I understand, within about 5 years, there's going to be a pretty good difference in size and expense.
I don't think you got 5 years.
I don't think so either. I hope I'm wrong, though. I hope I'm wrong. I'm trying to prepare for two different types. One is the ultimate complete breakdown, and one is just like another Great Depression. And I want to be as independent as I can, have some power, that I can, solar power here, wind power. And I've already got a well. If I can get a decent amount of wind power, solar power combined with what I got, we could do fairly well here.
Yeah.
But
if
you can live through the people trying to get your stuff.
Right. That's the kicker. Yeah, I bought some flashlights. They're Railvac makes them that they have a crank and they wind. You 1 minute of winding gives you 3 minutes, and they're LED lights.
Yeah, they've got that. They've also got the ones where you just shake them, and as you shake them, they generate and recharge, which they don't last very long. But a lot of times, that might be a good one for a backpack because you don't need it much more than that, unless you're planning on having to live off that backpack for a while. If you're just going from point A to point B, from point B to C like I am, I don't need that within my backpack. All I need is the smaller one, like I'm talking about shaking up. Then I can get to the rest of my supplies as I move down the road. And my final destination was fairly well set up with pretty good amount of stuff there that can, you could pretty much live there independently for the rest of your life if you had to, or if they don't come find you and get you.
Yeah. That's a lot of planning.
Yeah, and that's, there are just so many different aspects to what you think you're planning for. I'm trying to take all the different scenarios that I think are likely or a good possibility and find the things that cover all of them and get those first. And then you can go back down and you can specify, well, this doesn't cover plan A if it's a hurricane, but it'll be good for plan B if it's something else, because there's some things you don't need, like a gas mask. You probably won't need that if it's just a Great Depression again or something like that. But if it's something like total breakdown of the government, you might need everything you possibly think of, along these lines that we'll be discussing. But there's only I'm only willing to compromise the way we live and the way my family's used to a certain point. So and I started a little bit later than a couple of my friends, but not everybody has to have everything if you all got a final destination to get to, and it has most of that stuff there. If you've got 12 people, you don't need 12 generators.
Right.
Right. So there's different things that you don't need. So one of the guys, okay, hey, I got this today, so you're not going to need that. This will be at the final destination, which is the only place we really need it anyway. So it'll be there. That type of situation. That's why it's also good to have a small group of people that you believe in, you trust, and that knows either something you don't know that you need, or knows as much as you. Maybe they don't know as much as you, but they have certain things that they do know that are helpful. I know a lot about electrical stuff, and a couple of the guys wouldn't know how to repair an outlet in a home, replace one. But different people know different things, so.
Yeah, my skills wouldn't be useful.
Yeah.
But there's ways around that too. There are plenty of books out there that you can get to teach you how to. And Mike, I think, is looking into some of this stuff, like growing your food.
Yeah, I focus more on interested in the permaculture and things like that. Self-sustaining living. Yeah, I learned all of my self-defense and gun skills from the Bourne trilogy. So I'm pretty much screwed.
Now, man, watch Jack 24. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I never watched that show.
Huh?
I never watched one episode of that show.
Oh, you started. Well, we've been watching on Netflix, and
okay.
We hadn't been able to stop. And but he'll teach you how to interrogate people.
Yeah, that should come in handy.
And a lot of people go into self-defense real deep. But my philosophy is, I do know some of it. I'm not an expert, but my philosophy is, if I live through the first part of something that goes bad, real bad, if I can't get away, and I'm pretty sure I can't get away, then I'm just going to fight back, and maybe I'll be one of the first ones to fall, but maybe I'll take a few with me and make it harder for them to, down the line, the more people that take a few with them, the less there are at the end, and maybe some of the good guys will end up, okay and fixing things later. But my philosophy after that is going to be, get the hell out, be as quiet and as insignificant as you can be, and get the hell away and get to your final destination and hope for the best then, Yeah. So along the way, you're going to avoid any confrontations you possibly can, which means you don't need your self-defense. You only need your self-defense if you fail at being invisible, which I don't really mean invisible, because none of us are, but, look at that kind of thing.
Well, out your way, not in the West, and there's still a lot of vast areas where people.
Well, you still have a lot of vast areas, not that far away from you, up in the hills.
Yeah, but not vast like vast.
No, not like where I'm going.
But not that it would help.
Down here in Texas, we got areas that's never. I don't think anybody's ever even went into.
Right.
Down in Big Bend.
Yeah, and there's areas. One of the areas that I'm talking about is in that general direction, and it's a few ranchers have been there and a few hunters, and that's about it. And some of those areas I don't even think hunters have been into, because there's a very large area there that's hard to get into, and even harder to get out. And
are you talking about due west of where you're at?
Yeah.
Which would be a southwestern for me.
Yeah, southwest from you. And maybe one of these days, when you're coming through town, we get together. If you're on one of your runs down to repair something, and you're coming through town, give me a holler. We'll visit, and I'll tell you. But I'm not talking about it where they can hear it.
No.
And I'm not sending you an email or anything on it.
No.
But I wouldn't mind having you there. And
yeah,
I don't think Mike could ever get this far.
No.
Hey, don't underestimate me.
See,
I got some horses.
My son is finally awake, and not even for me. It's kind of
I heard your wife was waking up a little bit too.
My wife is awakened up now, but my son, he's got some people we work with, ex-military, and one of the guys just got out. He actually, I think about a year ago, he got shot in Afghanistan, but he's aware of a lot of stuff from when he was in the military. So he'd been hearing stuff, that's going on, but anyway, they kind of one of the guys has a place out in the country, just not about 45 minutes from where I'm at, but it's not way out in the country, but it's isolated enough, and it's off the beaten path is what they call it. But that's pretty much what we're looking at. I've never even met the guy, but I talked to him on the phone, and my son has known him for a couple of years, about a year now, I guess. And they're kind of prepping. I was going to ask you, have either one of y'all ever watched that show, Preppers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched some.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting show.
Haven't you seen how they like to make them look stupid and idiots?
Yeah.
or like crazy, kooky.
I think they go out of the way to try to make them look like that.
Yeah, they're like, they teaching their son to squeeze dirt and drink out of it and stuff. It's like, the most kind of, it's good practical things, I guess, but
but they
paint
actually,
them in a picture.
A couple of those guys are a little bit nuts, I think.
Yeah,
What they're doing isn't nuts, but they're just nuts in the first place. And I think they try to pick those people out, or pick out the most crazy things that they might do and make them look that way.
These people are like really extreme,
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to be extreme, but they're extreme like.
No, a couple of them weren't. A couple of them weren't extreme. They were pretty regular type people, prepping fairly normally. But some of them they put on there are just nutcases from the very beginning. Not to say what they were doing was anything of what they were doing and how they were doing it, but just the overall way they were portrayed in the show, which, I guess is part of the show. I'm pretty sure they had an agenda trying to make it look that way, but, right down to it, there's going to be those type of people you got to deal with in a situation, maybe, that they may be helpful or may be harmful. Who knows?
Yeah. Like one lady was getting a bunker made, and she said, I need to have it next month, or else, they won't be able to do it until the following season, because it was
because it's gonna be frozen over.
Yeah, and she was freaking out because it's got to be done this month. I'm like, there might be some legitimate reasons to be worried.
Yeah, and I think she was. You've seen people.
She looked a little bit crazy.
Was that a recent show?
No, they don't have. They haven't had any recent ones on. They're all reruns from last season.
No, this was like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I don't even think they've have any. I don't know if they've got a new season planned. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah,
but
they're going to do real time stuff.
Yeah, well, that that one lady we were just talking about is, I think she's one of those type of people. Once she grabs a hold of an idea, she goes whole hog right now. My wife is kind of like that. Once she gets in her mind to do whatever it is, it's like, that's it. You know, I'm going all the way, and that's okay. But I kind of calmed her down a little bit over the years. But it's got a good factor to it too. So
they should do. Go ahead.
What really finally woke my son up was in his job they went to a FEMA camp. It's on 20 in Fort Worth, and he said, man, we got there. It's just like you said. The barbed wire was pointed inward to keep her. And so he said that he was at one of the county jails. I don't remember which one it was, but he got to talking to a judge there, and he was telling him about the FEMA camp. And he said that judge was telling him that he believed they were going to try to confiscate guns. That he was hearing from within, on the legal side. So I think that was the thing that finally convinced him. He never really believed about the FEMA camps. I told him before about them, and he never really believed it until he actually went to one and saw it.
Well, one of the guys that is in my plan is military. He's active military right now, Special Forces, sniper training. I don't know if he's actually a sniper now, but I know he has the training. All I know is Special Forces. You know, I don't know. He doesn't talk too much about any of it. But if he's not deployed, he'll be part of the group. If he is, you know, he won't be able to get back. But he's going to be a pretty good asset. Jim and I both are good shooters. We've both trained and planned and on some of that, but we're not like this guy. You know,
like battle hardened,
lots of training. We just did what we could on our own and learned from a few people here and there. But I'm fairly confident in my skills, but I'm not confident in my health of how much of it I could handle. You know, I'm 50 years old. I'm not in the best of health. So that's one of the reasons we've been talking about some of these health issues. You and I both had some concerns that we wanted to look into. Just losing weight and feeling better part of it. You know.
Well, you got to get off any prescription pills.
Yeah, and that's
what I'm working on.
And that's what Jim is doing. That Jim has been on a pump that they implanted him with a morphine type drug, I guess, for years. And I could see that it was actually deteriorating his health. And over the years, I finally convinced him he needed to get off that. And once we got back in the mode of prepping more, he started looking at that, talking about it, and he finally decided he wanted to get off those damn things. And he started having them once every month, once every 3 months, whatever it was. He'd go back to the doctors, and he'd have them turn the dosage down a little bit, because the drug he's on, he couldn't just stop cold turkey. They said it would be very dangerous for him. It could kill him if he did. So they just been taking it down, down, down. Now he's at a fairly low level, and he found out that the pain, because part of being hooked on certain drugs is when you don't have them, you still think you have the pain, even though you don't really have the pain. It's all in your head. So he has found out that his pain level is nothing as severe as he used to think it was when he had tried getting away from the drugs before. But they tested a new implant, the electronic implant that it's like little shocks that they've been working with for years now, where it shocks your body and makes the muscles contract and move around, and it loosens them up, and it helps with your pain level. He tried one of those for 3 days. He liked it. He said it helped a lot, especially at the pain level he's at now, which is a much less than what he thought it was. So they're going to go back and implant that in his body and take the other one out. And he's got an option of one that you recharge every so often, or one that the battery in it lasts for years before you have to go back to a doctor and have it replaced. So he's working at that right now. So hopefully, he'll be in good shape there. Amazing some of the things they can do with medical stuff, but it's such a shame that we're in a position we're at with the medical society.
All about money.
Yeah, we've talked a bit about that before. So, all right, we're over an hour here. We're an hour and 10 minutes or something. So I'm going to call that the end of the show. Mike, give them the new web address.
Yes, the website's livefreenews.com, and if you want to, eventually there'll be show notes for this episode. It'll be at livefreenews.com/podcast14. It's all one word, lowercase. So,
and we do have some articles there. I think you'll find of interest. So, stop by. We're adding as we go, but we all work for a living, so it's not something we can do 24 hours a day and keep up with everything. So we just pick out what we think is important, the things we talk about on the show, other things that we think are important. We put them up there. Got a long ways to go, but I think you stop by and check it out. And then, hey, leave a comment. Tell us what you think about it. Give us some show ideas or something, or ask us some questions. Maybe we can help you out with it.
That'd be great. Hey, Steve, we're gonna try to put in the show notes some notes and maybe some resources related to what we talked about today: reloading kits, seeds, mesh for the EMP protection, gas masks for milk jugs. We'll see if we can find some videos on that. So.
Yeah, we need to put a little bit of that into the description for this show too. So we need to start doing that, which we talked about. So, all right, you will be able to find links to my Bug Out Bag website. I don't think I put anything up there yet, but there will be soon. We'll put it over in one of the columns, and you'll be able to find it there. Mike is getting up a new website on some health stuff, I believe.
Yeah, I have it. Healthblackbelt.com.
All right. And Al, I don't know if you've got anything you want there, but you can put something up there anytime you want. So that's it for tonight.
All right.
All right. This is Politics and Preppers podcast at TalkShoe.com, and you know the name of the new website now. We are on Saturday nights, 10 o'clock Central Time, and again, hopefully I'm going to be able to put some shows together during the weekend, which will be mainly focusing on prepper topics. So good night. Come join in sometime.
Keep your powder dry.
Yeah, keep your powder dry. I got to get out of here. My boots are killing me.
All right.
Take it easy.
All right, bye.